Hello and welcome, or welcome back, to the Diggin' and Pitchin' channel, where we highlight the food, restaurants, and culture of New Orleans and South Louisiana. Today, I'm starting a four-part video series on how four different groups have influenced New Orleans cuisine. This influence happened during the colonial period in Louisiana. Today's video will focus on the sub-Saharan African influence that came to the city with the enslaved Africans that were from West Africa. And we'll also talk about the West African influence that came to the city with the many Haitian immigrants that made New Orleans their home in the early 1800s after the Haitian Revolution. When Africans were brought from the coast of West Africa to the Americas and the Caribbean, to places like Mexico, Honduras, Colombia, and America, those enslaved Africans brought their culture, skills, wisdom, and knowledge with them. And it's important to note that the slave owners sought out Africans from particular countries to be able to capitalize on their skills. An example of this is how the enslaved were used to grow and cultivate rice crops for the rice plantations in the Carolinas. This was something brand new to the country, and rice became an integral part of American cuisine, Southern cuisine in particular, and most definitely an integral part of New Orleans and Louisiana cuisine. We have other handprints of West Africa from the colonial period in the cuisine all around us. Just like Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic have mofongo, and Brazil has acarajé, New Orleans also has deep West African influences. I've already mentioned the beginning of rice cultivation in the South, and I briefly mentioned the influence of the Haitian immigrants that came to the city after the Haitian Revolution. So, the Haitian connection comes with this dish, red beans and rice. I found this bit of information from the Le Cordon Kitchen French-American Bistro. The African origins of red beans and rice have been traced back to the Haitian Revolution of 1791 through 1804, which brought an influx of ethnic Europeans, free blacks, and enslaved blacks to the region. It is believed that the Haitians brought with them their culinary traditions, including red beans and rice. This dish has also been linked to the careful farming methods of the Acadians as well as African culinary traditions. And here's a tidbit of information for you. New Orleanian Louis Armstrong's favorite food was red beans and rice. He would sign his letters, "Red beans and ricely yours." This stew or soup, depending how you make it, is named after the West African word gumbo. Gumbo is translated as okra. So, if gumbo means okra, my gumbo should have some okra in it. Don't you think so? I love okra. So, jambalaya is actually a mixture of things, but for this video, I will mention its African influence. Its other influences will be mentioned later. Jambalaya is a rice and meat dish that has its origins in West African cuisine. When I visited West Africa, I found that it was very similar to jollof rice, which is a spicy, heavily seasoned rice dish with vegetables and meat. The first thing that I thought was that this reminds me of jambalaya. I know that some people say pralines, but we invented the term in our particular version of the candy, so it is correctly pronounced pralines. Pralines also has a mixed origin, originally French, but the version born in this city became its own unique candy. Believe it or not, there is so much to the history of this candy. But for now, I'll just mention that during the colonial period, Sugar plantations were a huge thing here. Sugar was a highly sought after commodity. Here in New Orleans, the French allowed those that were enslaved to have a day off on Sundays to sell their own goods in markets. Black people made their own version of the praline back then with sugar and readily available pecans. This version became the New Orleans praline. Calas are similar to beignets, but they're made of flour, sugar, eggs, and rice. It was once known as a popular breakfast dish. According to an NPR article from 2013, it says that during the colonial period, Calas have helped some slaves buy their freedom. The same article says, scholars think slaves from rice-growing parts of Africa probably brought Calas to Louisiana. Some trace Calas to Ghana, others to Liberia and Sierra Leone. In the 1700s, during the days of French rule, slaves were given one day off, as I mentioned earlier, each week, usually Sundays. And so after church, African women would roam the streets of the French Quarter, touting their wares with the chant in French, "Beautiful Calas, very hot." When the Spanish took control of Louisiana in the 1760s, they brought with them a powerful legal instrument, coartación, which gave slaves the right to buy their freedom. For enslaved black women in the city, the author says, selling calas was a key way to earn money for these purchases. These women were able to buy their freedom for their families and for themselves. More than 1,400 New Orleans slaves bought their freedom under Spanish rule, but it's not clear just how many did so with calas money. I just wanted to share this food history of my beloved city. New Orleans is known for its cuisine and its gumbo of cultures that mix together to give us those dishes that we all know and love. Wanted to also give credit where credit is due so that this history would not be forgotten. Their handprints are all around this city, and I've only highlighted a little bit of their influence. For the next video, I will be highlighting the French influence on our cuisine. Thanks so much for your time and attention. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe so that you can be notified whenever I upload more videos highlighting New Orleans and South Louisiana's food, restaurants, and culture. Be blessed.